What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Path to Freedom podcast. Today, I'm joined by Chris King. Chris is the partner and CEO of Monster Mini Golf. He's also a franchisee with Monster Mini Golf, which we'll unpack because I think that's kind of a unique dynamic that you don't see all that often in franchising. So, anyways, Chris, I'm thrilled to have you here, man.
Hey, Wes, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to join you and chat a little bit.
Yeah. So I got introduced to you guys not all that long ago, but I think it's a really cool concept that you've got here with Monster Mini Golf. So to kick us off, just give the audience kind of a quick down and dirty overview. What is Monster Mini Golf? Who's it for?
So Monster Mini Golf is an indoor family entertainment brand. Obviously, mini golf is our key attraction. We like to say our product isn't mini golf at all. It's entertainment. Mini golf is just kind of how we entertain. So we can be a 9,000 square foot with mini golf and party rooms and arcade, or, for the right person and the right appetite, you could have a laser tag or bowling, so we're really kind of modular, which allows us very nimble market penetration because we can go into, spaces that, some others can't. The economics are better there, but really what we are is we're blacklight, monster themed, immersive mini golf. So when you enter into our golf course, which again is our core attraction, there's animatronic moving monsters. We have a DJ booth on the golf course where we really train people to connect and entertain humans, whether it's doing a trivia or a contest from a microphone, or actually coming out to the hole and saying, hey, you and your date, you guys want to play closest to the hole for a $5 game card. So we really add that human level of entertainment into the classic game of mini golf. And then another thing that we really try to do is appeal to all ages. So we say our demographic is from 5 to 95 because everybody can play mini golf. We're ADA accessible. So, if grandfather's in a wheelchair, he can play. But I say we appeal to the adults. Every golf course, we say we don't build Monster Mini Golfs. We actually create them. Every golf course has a local tapestry that's hand painted. So we have artists that do a complete storyboard on the town we're going into. And we take obscure famous people, places, industry, and we paint all that in a whimsical way. So when you're actually going through your mini golf course, the adults, it's like a time hop through their town, of world-class artwork that really speaks to them. And then the music and the games and the monsters all appeal to the kids. So we really get a nice mix of we have something for everybody.
Yeah, it's a really cool vibe. From what I've seen, I've gotten to see a few, like video tours of some of your different locations and different pictures. And for those listening, we'll make sure to link the website and social media handles in the show notes. Go check it out because it really is. I think the look and feel that you guys curate in these locations is a big part of it. And, I do love the fact that each location is going to be similar and kind of on brand, but is going to be unique and specific to the local area. I think that's a really nice touch. And it seems like you guys have been very intentional about, creating that fun environment that's going to be obviously fun for the kids, but also not one of these things where the parents are like, damn, we got to take the kids to this place again on Saturday. It's actually enjoyable for the parents too.
Yeah. And what we do is we try to be affordable too. I mean, one of our still hallmarks is when we go into a market and we do our competitive analysis, we like to be more affordable for a family of four than even going to the movie theaters. So everybody can come and play a little mini golf. And then everything we do is very intentional to be inclusive. Like even our bowling, it's not the big bowling. It's like the 3-inch balls and the string.
Yeah, the duck pin bowling or whatever they call it.
Old can actually bowl with their parents, not have to have that big heavy contraption. So we're really designed on that family unit or that friendship unit coming in and all participating in everything together. Nobody's sitting on the sidelines, thumbing through their phone on a massage chair, feeding just, a kid with arcade play. It should be more than that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've got a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 8-year-old, right? So birthday part. I mean, we've been to every kid attraction, in our area, and some of them are, fun enough for the kids, but, it's not a whole lot of fun for the parents, and you're not like chomping at the bit to go back again next weekend. But, this is to me something a little bit different. And I mean, I imagine that you get adults that come without kids, date night or a group of college kids that want to come in.
Absolutely. College kids, if you have that environment around you. I mean, we really speak to both. And that, that's not easy to do.
It's not.
Business and kid business. And I think one thing that we do really well is we train on the psychology of connecting with people. So in our training program, it's training on, hey, you've got a group of 5-year-olds. How do you connect with them? How do you remember all their names and really keep them with you and lead them through? And then on a Friday night, if I've got 5 guys loosening their tie to play a little competitive mini golf after work, how do you connect with those people? So it's really at the core about the psychology of people and and the psychology of fun, because everybody gets fun a different way.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And to highlight too the price point that you mentioned, there are, like, we've taken our kids to birthday parties at trampoline parks and things like that. It's fun, but it's not cheap. I got to buy another pair of socks for each kid every time we go, because we can't ever keep up with the ones that we bought last time.
Yes, sir.
And to your point, like, to take, for us to take our 3 kids to the movies, and by the time we get drinks and snacks and all of that, it's $120 easy, no problem.
Everybody's got 15 or $20 to play mini golf, Yeah. And now if they want to do other things while they're there, everything else is a la carte. But you can come in and have a really nice 45-minute to hour immersive mini golf experience with some entertainment for, under $80 for the whole family. It's just not out there anymore.
We'll get right back to the episode, but I wanted to quickly share a free resource with you. If you're curious about franchise ownership and want to learn more about how countless people, including myself, have leveraged franchising as a way to create more freedom for themselves and to take control of their livelihood, I've put together an ebook. It's called Franchise Wealth Creation, and it's the perfect starting point for anyone that's just curious to learn more about this whole franchise thing and how I've helped hundreds of other people navigate all the steps involved in understanding and researching franchising. So click the link in the show notes, fill out a short form. I'll send you the ebook. I think it's a great starting point if you're curious at all about learning more about franchising. All right, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, and you mentioned too that for your franchise owners, there's some flexibility in the model too, right? Where, depending on the size of the location, depending on, a franchisee's appetite for, how much capital they want to put into it, you can have the bowling, you can have laser tag. I think you mentioned some of your locations even have like a small, cafeteria or snack bar type setup. So you've got some flexibility there, which I think is good, as you're talking to different potential franchisees. And, I assume the area that they're looking at may to some extent dictate what would make sense, how big of a facility to put in. Obviously the amount of capital that they have access to plays a role in that too. But opportunity for a franchisee to expand at some point too. If they start with a smaller location, then, maybe they can expand into something a little bit bigger and add on some of these other attractions or services.
Yeah, and that's the flexibility that I think really makes us unique from an investment and an operational expense. If you're really thinking about it, what's the biggest expense once they go into business? For as long as they're in business with us or any business, it's their rent. So being able to find the right economics in any given market by not saying, hey, I have to go into 20,000 square foot when I know this 10,000 square foot is in a good place and it'll make me really good money. So it's not always bigger is better with us, but there is a real opportunity right now, commercial real estate, in some of our plazas where maybe we couldn't get into a great plaza economically 10 years ago, with some of those mid-sized junior anchors going out of business, like large brands closing 100 stores, that type of retail isn't just going to come back and save a plaza anymore. So our opportunities even gotten a little better for those, 9 to 12,000 square foot boxes that they're going to have a hard time filling, where we can come in, fill that mid-size box where no other entertainment could, and then we can drive traffic back to the plaza, helping all the co-tenancy and things like that. So there is a lot of just innate benefits and some cool things happening right now too.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I want to dive into real estate before we wrap up today, just to make sure, the listeners have a sense of, how you guys as the franchisor are able to assist when it comes to, finding potential sites that they could put their location in, helping with things like, lease negotiations, contracts, and then obviously there's a build out component to this. And so I know you guys have a lot of great support and resources where, you're really guiding your franchisees through that whole process. Before we dive into all that, though, I want to make sure the listeners get a chance to understand some of the history and backstory of the brand, and also with yourself, because you're no stranger to franchising.
Yes,
And
sir.
in my eyes, so I work with hundreds of brands. I see even more, brands than that. There's a few things that are unique to what you guys are doing, in addition to just the concept, which we've already kind of talked about. And one of those is that, this is a pretty established brand in terms of how long it's been around. You're not massive yet in terms of the number of franchisees and the number of open locations, but it seems like, it was kind of a very grassroots strategy for growing in the beginning, very organically, and also very intentional, which is something that I look very closely at, because in this day and age, you see a lot of brands that they come onto the scene, they hit go on franchising, and the next thing you know, they've sold, 150 licenses in a year. And that puts a lot of strain on that franchisor team to make sure that they can support all of these incoming franchisees when they're that new to the game. So I like the fact that you guys have been around, you're established. Seems like you're at a point now where you're really ready to grow a little bit more aggressively and kind of step on the gas. But, you've got that foundation built really well. So I think that's important. But maybe give us kind of just a quick run through of the history of the brand, and then kind of where Monster Mini Golf is today.
Yeah, so like you said, I've been in franchising almost 25 years. I started with a children's fitness center brand. I started as a manager, worked my way up to a franchisee, brought that brand, it's called My Gym, brought it here to Charlotte, where I live now. Went on to work for them corporately, sold that, and then but I stayed with them corporately for about 15, maybe 17 years, and then I hit a point where I wasn't going to go step over my 5 best friends. We had worked really hard. When I started with My Gym, we had 45, and when I ended, we had 330 in 32 countries. So I really cut my teeth. That was my grad school, and I got to that point when my wife, we were having our first child, and I said, I think I'm gonna leave My Gym. I'm gonna do something else. I'm about 40 years old, and she was like, "You're gonna do what? That's a nice job. I wouldn't do that." And I said, "No, I feel like there's more." And I respect everybody I'm with. They're my best friends. I just want more. And it happened doing an Indeed ad. I replied for an ad that said brand manager. That was the title, but it really spoke to operations, and it was Monster Mini Golf. And this was probably in about 2015. And so they were looking for a brand manager. It was the founders, Pat and Christina Vitaliano. They founded this company in 2004. So we turned 20 years old this past year. Like you said, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of mistakes and learning that have happened. But when I joined them, they probably had about 17 or 18, maybe 20 units. They had closed a couple through learning, and they really just were looking for somebody to help polish it up, perhaps some systems around it, kind of be that voice, between them and the franchisees, work with them. So we really worked hard, to build that system. It was a really cool concept, and I saw the growth. So I joined them as their COO in 2015. And then 7 years into it, my wife and I are sitting there with our 2 children. My son's 3. We're living in Jupiter, Florida. And I had that, what do you want to do when you grow up conversation, meaning, who's been home with the kids. When Kate goes to school, what do you want to do? And, we have a nice freedom in our life and, do a lot of fun things. And she just didn't want a 9 to 5. And she said, those Monster Mini Golfs that you oversee look like they do pretty well. Why don't we find a market and let's go do a multi-unit. I'll run the stores. You stay running the company.
Nice.
We did. We relocated to Charlotte. We opened I signed my first lease in Charlotte in June of 2021 when the world was shut down. But she said, we're really going to do this, open an indoor family entertainment center during the pandemic. And I said, 2 ways this can go. Either the world shuts down or we get the best lease deal ever. So
it's the way to look at it, man. It's like, and if it goes south, it's like, that's probably the least of your worries is that, we got this lease signed. Everyone's got bigger problems than that. And I imagine you did get a good deal on the lease.
We did. And we've been very fortunate. We've opened 3 stores here in 3 years. My wife is, she's the face of it. If I walk in sometimes with a new team member, they would try to sell me mini golf. She's really the face of our business. We do a good job separating. But then in I think it was April of 22, we were at a franchise advisory council meeting. It was myself and the founders, Pat and Christina, with our council. We had a great 8-hour meeting. I mean, really, really productive. And at the end of it, Christina says, so I think we're going to retire. And we're like, oh, what does this do for us now? And
what does that mean?
And I'm the COO. I'm like, wow, I'm really going to be affected here. And she said, we've been courted by private equity, and there's deals on the table. It doesn't feel right. We've run this as a family. We've run this franchisee first. We're going to retire either way. But would you guys like to buy it? So she offered it to 3 of our franchisees, which are high-level multi-unit operators, and for what the work I've done with them, really fighting it with them for those years, I earned a seat at the table too. So we actually said, can we have lunch and then maybe finish? Yeah. And so we came back and we said, we want to do this, and so we signed and took over the company in January of 23. It had grown organically. And we said, we can't come right out of the gate. So we built our infrastructure over the past 2 years, and we're just here now. But what's really cool is, the 4 of us, we each are equal owners, 25% each. There's myself. There's Nick Mastrangia. He owns 4 stores up in New York, New Jersey. Holly Hernandez owns 2 stores, one that's open in Frisco, and she's expanding to Keller. And then Alex Gonzalez owns 4 in 4 different states: Chantilly, Virginia, Colorado, Marietta, Georgia, and San Antonio. So if you look at us, the 4 people that own the company, we own 13 or 14 units. And Nick and his store in Fairfield, Nick's been a franchisee for 16, 17 years. So the wealth of knowledge and now it's built so much more confidence too, that, the people that own this walk in the same same weeds that you see every day. And even after we bought it, we continued to expand. I mean, I opened up a 3rd store after we bought the company, so it's really a lead by example, get in the fight with them. I mean, that's Monster Mini Golf's corporate mentality.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for running us through the kind of the evolution of the brand, because it is a great story, but kind of unique, where the ownership team, the leadership team, you guys are out there building these businesses yourselves as franchisees. And, I have these conversations all the time with candidates that I'm coaching through this process. Franchising works when it's done right, meaning there's alignment between the franchisor and the franchisee. And, you used a phrase just a minute ago, franchisee first.
Yes.
Right. And that's when franchising really fires on all cylinders. When, the franchisor fully understands and is fully committed that, hey, if we pour everything we can into helping our franchisees be as successful and profitable as we possibly can, then we are going to reap all of the benefits, and the brand is going to continue to grow. It's going to be easier to attract the right types of franchisees to come in and keep opening new locations. Our existing franchisees will continue to grow their businesses and expand. And you don't always have that strong of alignment in franchising. So when you layer in the fact that, now the ownership and the leadership at the top of the company, you have a lot at stake, as franchisees. And I'll tell you a real quick story about my background. The first franchise that my wife and I bought is a franchise called Shelf Genie. So it's more of a service-based home service, home improvement. We're coming up on 7 years that we've been franchisees.
Congrats.
But we got it. Thank you. It's been awesome. We got into that because I was working for Shelf Genie, running their franchise development. So, I'm talking to people and helping bring them into the brand. So I obviously, had a really good understanding of the business and the type of potential it had and what it took to be successful. And then my wife gets laid off from her corporate job in pharma. And, I'd been in franchising for a while at this point. So we'd started having some discussions around, hey, maybe we should, really think about starting something ourselves. But the CEO of that brand at the time had been, or actually the COO of Shelf Genie at the time was a long-standing franchisee. He owned Raleigh, North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina, and Charlotte. So he was, one of, if not the highest volume owners in the system, very experienced. The founder of the company had tapped him, asked him to come get involved as the COO, and was really kind of grooming him to take over as the CEO. So I stayed at Shelf Genie for I think a year and a half or so after we became franchisees. And, kind of like you and your wife, like my wife took the franchise business and ran with it. And she's far better at,
Yeah.
executing and operations and stuff than I am. So like she's done a phenomenal job with it. I've just kind of stayed out of her way. And the running joke is all I do in our Shelf Genie franchise is pick up heavy things and move them.
I deliver toilet paper and Windex. I mean,
There you go. Yeah. I've done that once or twice myself. But the point I'm making is, man, that like year and a half or so that I was still at Shelf Genie after we became franchisees. So now you have the COO, the CEO, and the franchise development guy. We're all balled in. We're all walking the walk ourselves. And I mean, that was a magical time. We more than doubled the system in terms of number of franchisees, number of operating territories, and we were bringing in great people. But it was easy. We didn't really like get more aggressive. I think it was just that came through to people that were looking at the opportunity.
The culture was just driving it at that point. The culture is so strong because everybody's bought into the same cause. You know, and are the relationships always going to be perfect? No. There's always going to be disagreements. It's not going to be perfect. But if you're all rowing the boat in the same direction and people feel that everybody truly cares and they're really in it, then it is. Like you said, I think the word's magical at times.
Yeah, it really was, man. That was a fun time. And since then, Shelf Genie's been acquired by a big conglomerate, and it's still a great business. Sure. Our franchise still does really well, but it's definitely different, than it was back in those days, which is, change is always gonna happen at some point. But so where are you guys at today in terms of number of franchisees, number of open locations? I know you have locations in development that are working towards getting open. We'll get right back to the episode in just a minute, but if you've been considering business ownership, if you're already a business owner looking to expand and you're curious about franchising, I'd love to connect with you, answer any initial questions that you have, talk about a specific franchise, and detail the exact process that I use and have taken hundreds of people through to help them understand franchise ownership, find the right franchise for them, and conduct the necessary due diligence. Click the link in the show notes if you'd like to schedule a free, no obligation strategy call. I look forward to talking with you. And now back to the episode.
Yeah, so we have 50 licenses awarded total. Okay. We've got 30 open right now, and I should be opening 3 more probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that's nice. Basically we're at 33 open. Out of the other 17 that we have 8 of those or 10 of those are actually leases. Leases signed, project either underway, starting, or maybe opening in the first couple of quarters of this year, and then everything else is just site searching. Out of the 50, I think we're about 27 franchisees. So we're roughly, 20, about a 54%, multi-unit operation. What we've noticed is when we kind of recommitted to the company and took it over too, it built a lot of confidence in just franchisees saying, I want to do another one now. I want to do 3. I want to do 4, So our internal momentum, when we bought the company as a group, we had 26 open, and this was 2 years ago. We had 26 open, and we had 5 in pre-opening. And we've gone from that number, which is 32, to 50 total without even trying. Just all organic in 2 years just after that we took over. So we really feel like Monster Mini Golf is this great thing that's been around forever, and we're just now introducing it to the world. But we're introducing it with a nice size emerging brand footprint and a lot of history and foundation behind it. So it's really it's a cool story. And I've been in franchising a long time too. And stories like this, and I'm not just saying it because I'm in it, stories like this you don't hear a lot. You don't.
No, you really don't. And like I said, it's unique. I work with a lot of brands, many of which are emerging, and a lot of great opportunities with these emerging brands. But it's really nice, to be able to look at a brand that, for all intensive purposes, could still be considered emerging in terms of the number of, licenses awarded, the number of open locations, the amount of available territory that you have throughout the country. But it was founded 20 years ago, and you've got, I think you mentioned earlier, one of the current owners with you now has had one of his open for like 16 years. You've got this depth of experience and so much time to really, tweak things and just, dial in the systems and processes. And I'm sure like every good franchise, you guys will continue to try new things and adapt, as you bring in more franchisees. But yeah, it really is unique because, I think a lot of people shy away a little bit from the more emerging franchises. There's just not as much tenure there. There's not as much data. And so you guys have a lot of that, but then still a lot of the advantages that you do get looking at an emerging concept versus a established brand that's been around, and has hundreds and hundreds of locations. Talk to me a little bit about the current, makeup or DNA of the franchisees that you have today. From a background standpoint, do you have any kind of commonalities? Are there any themes that have kind of emerged with your current base of franchisees, or do you have people kind of from all walks of life?
From everywhere. It's your traditional story of, like Nick, my partner, was in the mortgage business for years. Holly, my partner, was an IP attorney for 25 years. Alex was a civil engineer, that dabbled in business. A lot have come from other corporate backgrounds, and they really just want something that's going to, let them have that quality of life, both personally and financially, while giving back something that's fun. What you're giving. I mean, when you watch people walk in and they take their pictures and you give them these memories and, oh my gosh, we love that place so much. I mean, it's very rewarding, to do that, to be a pillar in a community of like positive memories and good times. And, it feels good to somebody. And if you can have all the business side and you can get that, then it just works. I would say the biggest attribute for our franchisees today is being outgoing, wanting to serve, wanting to please, and also wanting to lead, and help develop young kids these days. I mean, that's who our team is, and, we train differently. We're not a place that you're going to be on your phone behind the counter or in your pocket. We train on connection, and most young people don't really want to get into that, to walk up to a group of adults on the golf course and say, hey, you guys want to play a game with me? They don't want to do that. So we're able to pick through and find those personalities as a franchisee that can then also locate and harness those personalities down to the team level. We really try to be that waterfall. Like we try to give our franchisees corporately that energy, and all of that. If we can do that successfully, they pass it to their team passes it to the guest. So it all just gets to the right place, but they have a personality and a love of people, you don't have to be ringing your cash register every day. Once your business is developed, you can be semi-absentee, but you have to know what's going on in your business, and it's a business of people. So you have to constantly manage that pulse a little bit, whether it's from afar or it's weekly meetings, it's popping in on a busy Saturday and leading by example. And and handle that, it's a very rewarding business on every single level.
Yeah. I mean, look, compared to a lot of the work you could be doing, like, going and playing, mini golf and helping out around a fun environment like that on the weekends, not the worst way to spend your time,
even when things go south and it's just a bad day, we can say it's only mini golf. It's really only mini golf. There's
that's a good point, man. I was just talking this morning to a guy I've been working with for a little while. He's got young kids. He's looking to fully pivot away from a corporate job. And he's kind of narrowed it down to two different franchises that he's really considering. And, we were just kind of talking through pros and cons of each of them, especially specific to, his life and the goals that he has and the type of lifestyle that he's working for. Because he feels confident that, from a, unit economic standpoint, they're both pretty comparable opportunities, right? Like he feels confident he can, get to the type of income level he wants to with either of these. And, one of them, I think really does lend itself to more of a lifestyle friendly business. Whereas one of them is, very much a speed to lead type of business. And it's got, built-in demand, which a lot of people want in a business, or at least think they want. But that also comes with a price to pay a lot of times, which is, you're not going to have as much flexibility or freedom in your schedule as the owner. So anyways, it's something that, I think people need to really look closely at as they're evaluating different business opportunities is, what does a bad day in this business look like? and so you're going to have bad days. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have things that don't go well. But to your point, it's like, it's mini golf, right? I'm sure from time to time you have a customer that,
Sure.
for whatever reason doesn't have as good of an experience as they hoped, or something happened, or, any number of things, but it's not the end of the world we're talking about. I mean, with our Shelf Genie business, like one of the things we used to say when we were talking to candidates is like, hey, one of the beautiful things about this business is there's no shelving emergencies. Like, we have things come up that we have to go fix and make right for a client, but there's not a whole lot of like fires that pop up and you have to drop everything to go solve it. The other franchise we owned was an insulation business. So we worked with builders and contractors, and there were timelines and inspections, and I mean, just any number of things. The nature of that business was one of which where, you were almost constantly putting out fires and adjusting and pivoting, and, great business financially, but not nearly as lifestyle friendly of a business. So I think that's something that people should really, keep in mind, and works in your favor with a brand like this.
And an overlying philosophy is people are leaving something for a reason, and they don't want to leave something and then end up owning the same thing they left. So now the job that I wasn't happy in, now I just own that job, which makes it more pressure, so you got to find some fun in it. If you're making a move from corporate America that's paid you well, it's because you don't want that anymore. So you got to find something that fits. What's my next stage of life look like from, just personally how I want to feel.
The people I work with, when we begin the process and I'm getting to know them and trying to understand, what it is they're working towards, but also what they're trying to work away from. There's always a financial component, right? And most people don't want to go backwards financially, right? They understand that, they temporarily, may, if they're, leaving a corporate job and going full time,
whatever they're doing ramped up. There's a
long term. They don't want to go backwards. And most people are like, yeah, I'd love if I could make more than I'm making now. That'd be great.
Sure.
But the vast majority of the people I talk to, the lifestyle component of it is a bigger motivator than the financial component is. Especially if they're looking to make that full-time transition. So I imagine too, with your owners, and you kind of touched on this, you want people that are outgoing and energetic and, enjoy being around people, because this strikes me as the type of business where I'm sure you guys have, marketing strategies that you help your franchisees with, whether it's digital or other paid channels to market. But this strikes me as the type of business where the more involved and engaged the owner is in the community, good things are going to happen, and the business is going to grow, right? So if you're, involved in your kids' PTA, if you're, go to a church and you can get, the youth groups to come out, sports teams. I mean, there's just so many different ways that I see a business like this, you being able to bring in groups of people to get them exposed to it, and then they're going to kind of be hooked.
Yeah. And, you mentioned marketing, and you can do so much with digital today. It's really just open the doors for everybody. So one example of how we really focus on the marketing, and go back to franchisee first. During the build out and construction stage of their life, which is this small in their big life with us, they've never done that before. There's fear and there's unknown, and it can be very consuming no matter how many tools and you have for them. So what we try to do, even from a pre-opening standpoint, is we handle corporately all the digital marketing. We do it on their behalf. It's to build that social footprint, that critical mass. And like you say, local community, the only thing we ask them to do is take some of our logoed and trademark characters into community, introduce yourself to a business, put that there, take a picture. Then we go give that business love. So every 15 or 2,000 followers we get, we say, hey, guess where we're out and about today, learning about X city. And then that business starts getting love, which ends up to just goodwill amongst, you can do 10 of those before you open that we totally managed the campaign. Well, then you've got 250 people outside your door that day you open. And then only thing you have to do from there is be great with them. Once they come in the door, be great with them. And that business just starts to live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. Like if you're, like let's say my, one of my kids, classes at school did a field trip or something to go play mini golf, right? Well, now you've got 28 kids that are going to come home and tell their parents how much fun they had at this glow in the dark monster mini golf course.
Absolutely.
And so probably at least half of those parents are going to be taking their kid back on the weekend. And then they're going to be like, damn, that's actually the most fun at a kids venue we've had in a long time. They're going to start telling their friends about it. And there's so many ways.
Parties. And I mean, it's all, four walls marketing with us is huge. And like you've touched on the schools a few times during the summer, we will do, 3 camps a day before we even open to the public before noon, so in the summertime, because all of those like day camps and, they have an activity fund. They all have to take the kids places. So we just become a stop, during the summer field trip. But if we're great, we become a stop that they come to 2 or 3 times. And then after open for 2 or 3 years, that's just book business. If you've done it right, that's just coming back every summer. And you're right. They don't even have to just tell their parents. We send everybody home with a card, here's BOGO family to come back. Mini golf doesn't carry an expense. We give you a club and a ball. You walk around, we entertain you a little bit. I take that club and that ball back. So to give away, 2 rounds of mini golf or a family to 4 to come back in, we can just get them back in the door.
Yeah, that's a great point. So your biggest expenses are your lease and your payroll.
And our payroll, but we design our places with great lines of sight where, let's say this large 40,000 square foot family entertainment center. During the school year, most of them are in the red until Saturday afternoon, until they get that large swath of weekend business and birthday parties. So it's because it's so big, they have to have 8 people, 9 people in there managing all that for safety reasons and all of that. But they only have 5 people come in that afternoon. I can manage the store, and we can manage the store with 2 people on those days. So our labor goal is under 21%. If you're really, really great at managing it, you can get to 17%.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, especially considering you don't really have a significant cost of goods, line on your P&L statements. And, here's what I'll say, because I don't usually dive into numbers on this, but for the audience listening, I'll just say this, the unit economics that I've seen on this one in terms of the unit average volumes or average revenues per location are stellar, and the margin potential is incredible. And to Chris's point, you don't need a ton of employees, right? So, it's definitely a lower labor model, especially compared to other things in this kind of same category. And I know I've heard from you guys just some stories and examples of, franchisees and the types of numbers that they were able to put up in their first year and a half of business. It's pretty impressive. And the other thing is, I imagine liability, if we're comparing this to some of the other big kids entertainment centers. I mean, I can't imagine liability is a big issue when you're talking about, mini golf and bowling.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of safety. There's not a lot of safety issues, right. And we have entertainers out on the golf course. It is a blacklight environment. It's all very bright, but having people out there playing games, you're monitoring safety too while you're out there.
Yeah.
But it's really there's not a lot of liability. I mean, I can tell you, and again, not to talk numbers, but our insurance is way less on an annual. There's just not there, and you're talking about a 12,000 square foot space with arcade and mini golf. There's just not a lot there. And if you manage it with people and keep an eye on your building, knock on. We don't hear a lot of issues in that department.
I can imagine that you don't. My dad is on the board of a summer camp that our church is very involved in, and they have like a trampoline. It's kind of like a trampoline park type thing, like a miniature version of it, and then they have like some high ropes courses and stuff. And so I just know through hearing him talk about it, what they have to go through every year to renew their insurance and training and certification programs. They have to send the camp staffers to. They're involved in helping the kids on these different attractions or whatever you want to call them. Like, it's great. Kids love it. They have a blast, but it is not cheap, and it is a almost kind of constant, just making sure you're current on everything and in compliance. So that to me is another big differentiator. We touched on this earlier, but talk to me a little bit about real estate support, because just like you pointed out with marketing, a lot of first-time business owners, if they don't have that marketing experience, it kind of freaks them out a little bit. They don't have commercial real estate experience. I know that's a big kind of sticking point for a lot of people when they start looking at a concept like this. How do you guys help your franchisees find the right location, negotiate the lease, and then, manage the whole build out process?
Yeah, so I would say our biggest growing pain over the past 2 years building infrastructure is that phase one. We have a phase one and it's a phase two. But from a real estate perspective, we've got a great partner. We've got a great partner out of Dallas. Now if they have somebody that they know in their space that they're comfortable with in their market, they can absolutely. We don't mandate it, but most people aren't. They don't have that resource. Yeah. We've got a full turnkey solution for real estate that we're involved in every step of the way to make sure that deal fits our economics. So we stay responsibly attached to that. If they need legal advice, we've got all the vendors, and we can steer them that way as well. I think one of the biggest help to us is we did going with Rep'em as a sales partner. They also have that build 'em component. So that build 'em component is really going to help us become efficient and build these things within budget and within timeline. We've learned a lot over 2 years in construction, but what we want to focus on is we own the phase two. So the design of the golf course and the custom artwork and all of the furnitures and fixtures, we actually own that company so we can maintain flexibility and quality control. We own the team that goes out and builds it. So we just really want to focus on what we do well. Once we work hand in hand with Build 'em, we get there, or with our real estate vendor. Then Build 'em gets us to the point of we're a month from CO. Then Twisted Toy Box and the arcade vendors and everything. That's what we coordinate, and we're very efficient with that. We can come in and do the design on a black box. My crew can be in and out in 5 days.
Yeah, I heard you guys say that.
So full color explosion.
That blew my mind. How quickly you said that you guys and your affiliate company can handle that piece of it. And for those listening, I really want to reiterate, go to their website, find them on social media. We'll put it all in the show notes. You have to see what the inside of one of these places look like. This is not first of all, it's not like Scary Monster, right? If I bring my 3-year-old daughter,
spin on it, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not going to scare. It's not like a haunted house or anything like that.
No jump scares.
It's also not cheesy tchotchke type. It's high quality. The glow in the dark paint, the artwork is incredible. It really is a vibe. And then you've got the animatronics and everything that you incorporate into the golf course. It's a really cool setting. It's not cheesy or cheaply done. It looks.
We take a lot of pride in it. There's a lot of glow in the dark mini golf, and constantly within the industry, from people that aren't even in this in my particular business, they say you guys just figured it out as far as decor and presentation. And that's a huge compliment because we work really hard at that. And anybody that goes and looks at a video or finds us on the website, everything that you see with color is hand painted. So when you soak that in and you look at it, you're like, wow, there's a lot of TLC and a lot of grit and grind that goes into that product. A lot of care.
Yeah. That the hand painted and the local touch is another thing I love about it. But all right, man. In wrapping up here, question I always like to ask the brands that I talk to. What's the biggest challenge that your franchisees face in this business?
I think it's just everything is so expensive. It's finding that niche to where you fit in. But I don't just mean the cost of going somewhere for a family, but it's expensive to advertise. It's expensive to get your name out. So the hard part is just that. Getting it out to the masses, and not blowing your everything you have on marketing. Once we get them in the door, if we present the brand well, you still have to follow the prescription. But if you present the brand as it's dictated, it's only a matter of time before you're successful. Maybe it's day 1, maybe it's day 60. You got to stay that course. In the beginning, we try to take the heavy lifting off and spend the money to get them to your door. But then there is that, I got to get them in my building, and they could go to bowling, or they could go to the movies, or they could do this. We're not competing with mini golf. We're competing with anything that's entertainment, that's fine for that weekend family dollar. So it's standing out in that crowd and attracting them to us. Once they come to us, we're very confident that we can become the number one choice on their ballot, meaning I got 5 things that we can do today. $100. We can go here, here, here. Wow, that mini golf was really cool and those people were great. Let's go there.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's like we talked about, it's kind of that snowball effect, right? Where the more and more people come, try it, have a great experience, they're going to come back. They're going to tell other people about it. They're going to book their kid's birthday party there. I think I've heard you guys mention that, you have corporate events where a company may come in and rent the place out for a few hours, that sort of thing. So it's weathering the climb out,
Yeah. And some people have a line outside the door day one, and it's just, now I just get to do the thing that I signed up for. It's the fun, but if it doesn't start, it's having the wherewithal to just keep doing what you do well, get that critical mass. Once you get enough exposure, snowball's the right word. They're all coming back because we're unique in our genre.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Chris, man, really appreciate you. Any parting thoughts for the listeners before we wrap this one up?
No, I think I've said it before. We're entertainment, not mini golf. We've grown organically. We've grown really responsibly. This is an exciting time for our brand. Again, I feel like that we're 20 years old. We have 50 licenses, and we haven't even gotten started yet. So it's kind of a brave new world for us, which also creates a higher degree of responsibility for us to be great corporately. The ante's higher when you go out to the masses with your product. And I would like to say, coming into, the world of sales and brokerage where we've grown organically, it's been very welcoming. I mean, thanks to you for having me on, but I've been in franchising a long time. Franchise is just family and relationships. That's all it really is. So this world has welcomed us with open arms, and I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be a fun ride for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great brand, and to me, refreshing in a number of ways. And I think just an awesome opportunity for the right person. So where should folks go if they want to connect with you directly? If they want to see if there's a Monster Mini Golf in their area so they can go check it out themselves, where should we point folks?
Well, just go to the website. It's just monsterminigolf.com. You can go to the franchise. You can go to the franchising page. There's a contact form, or there's an information, just email. You can email directly. That'll land on my desk, or the form, will land with our partners at Repham. So if you want information, and there's a brand new nice video on there, on that homepage, you'll get a really good visual education of what that brand is. So I would say stop to the website, peruse it, go to some locations, see what different places offer as far as attractions. And, if you'd like to talk, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. We'll put that in the show notes. And for those listening, if you want to see if territory is available in your area, want to learn more about it, feel free to reach out to me or head straight to the website. But Chris King, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Monster Mini Golf.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate you, man.